Oh hey YouTube. Today we're going to have a look at one of the best captured accidents on film and camera. This was at an air show in Soaring in England. The photos that captured this accident were so good they were actually used to analyse the crash protection of glider cockpits. This accident happened 13 years ago and has since had an accident report written about it, and there are lots of lessons to learn from this accident. Today's video is sponsored by Pure Glide online store. We only have one sale a year and it's a Black Friday, 10% off. Check out the store for all your Christmas presents for glider and tow pilot enthusiasts alike. This is not the first time a glider crash at an airshow has been captured on film. Back in 1955, this pilot was filmed chopping the tip of his tail off as he flew inverted down the runway. He managed to flip it back over and land, crash into some of the nearby aircraft. Without a tail, it's miraculous he didn't plough into the ground. Because we're at an air show, there are usually lots of cameras around, and so it gives us a rare opportunity to actually see an accident unfold and be caught on film. So let's have a look at this video and go through it piece by piece. The glider is a Swift S1, registration Golf, India, Zulu, India, India. It's an aerobatic glider. It's designed to cope with high Gs, it's got a very fast roll rate, but is otherwise like a normal glider. Now, this was a very windy and turbulent day. He had performed a couple of manoeuvres. The rope got too slack, so he released from the tow plane. He was meant to stay on the tow plane for the whole manoeuvre. The pilot then flies downwind and in front of the crowd, then initiates a left turn to try and line up with the runway. One of the wings stalls, that drops the wing. The glider then proceeds to depart from controlled flight, as they say, and crashes into the asphalt runway. The video doesn't show the impact itself, but there was a photographer capturing in the moments that the glider actually crashed. First of all, we can see the glider approaching the runway, and it was the left wing that struck the runway first. This would have absorbed a lot of energy, which is a good thing, because you want as much energy absorbed before the pilot impacts the ground. The nose then hit, and it broke the cockpit in half, about halfway down the canopy. As you can see, the glider nose was crunched in half there. Pilot managed to extract himself from the wreckage, and he did survive, but he injured his back, and it was quite a long process to recover apparently. So the questions we've got: why did the pilot release early? Why didn't he just land straight ahead? And how did this trained aerobatic pilot actually let the glider stall? So a report from this accident was produced by the AAIB. They confirmed that the glider stalled and departed from controlled flight, crashing onto the runway. They also confirmed the weather was poor, and some other participants had actually cancelled their displays for that day, but this aerobatic glider team decided they could do some low-level aerobatics, which would remain on tow behind the tow plane. He started the display and released early due to the excessive slack rope during this manoeuvre. He turned right to try and position himself for a landing on the takeoff point. The report did point out that he was a little bit fixated on getting back to the launch point and landing at the launch point so they could do the next display quicker and more efficiently, which in hindsight was probably a mistake. It became clear he was going to overshoot the aiming takeoff point, and so initiated a left turn and tried to line up for the other asphalt runway. There was video evidence from inside the cockpit which showed that the pilot had not looked at the airspeed indicator for about 8 seconds in the lead up to the accident. So it's very likely that he just lost situational awareness of his airspeed. It's quite possible because the glider was travelling downwind, the aircraft would have felt like it had a higher airspeed than it actually had because of the optical illusion of the ground going past you fast, but because you're going with the wind, the airspeed got too low. This is a common trap that pilots can fall into when doing any manoeuvres near the ground, and it's not the first time a pilot's been caught out by this. The report also talks about the decision to launch and do manoeuvres in these weather conditions. There was certainly a discussion in the report about the weather minima required for certain types of manoeuvres and aerobatics. I've linked to the full report if you want to read it in the description below. So what are the key lessons we learned as a glider pilot? 1. Watch your airspeed. Always maintain safe speed near the ground. Secondly, don't fly in dodgy weather. You know, if it's really low cloud base, you try and do an air show, it's probably not worth pushing it. If you're doing barrel rolls down a runway at 200 feet above the ground, probably best to try not let your rope slacken off too much. I know that's a situation we've all been in. And finally, always have a escape route planned and landing option available. This would come under eventualities in our Gliding New Zealand pre-takeoff checklist. Please consider hitting the subscribe button. It doesn't cost anything and it really helps the channel out. If you've got any questions or comments, please put them below. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.